where it's like a 5-day business trip, and the first 3 days it's good, you know, and then you go to the Mexican restaurant and everyone starts ordering margaritas, and you're like, oh, okay, let's at some point the youth comes out, and you just like stop being so professional, and I think that's what we saw last night across the board with the team. They looked totally outmatched by the moment and the competition.
So then when it comes to Jason Tatum and whether or not he's a superstar or just a star, we're going to have to wait to see on that?
Yeah, I think so. Well, no, I would say this. I still predict that he's going to be a superstar, that he's like edging into superstar territory right now. But it's this constant conversation around this postseason where it's been top 5 Jason Tatum, superstar Jason Tatum. And the thing for me with this team is that it is Tatum's team in terms of he is clearly the best player, but this is a team run. Like if you look at every series, it's been a team run. It hasn't been Tatum putting the team on his back the way that we saw Curry do in game 4. So I feel like it's more akin to, I've said before, like the 2004 Pistons, where it's an incredibly defensive team, and every series win is a grind, a defensive effort, except for the Nets, which we all know are like fraud team. Yeah. But that's why I say, like, even we were talking yesterday about, and Friday on our show on MFM, about whether or not Tatum has clearly, put it out there for him to be finals MVP if the Celtics win. It's just, it hasn't exactly been his, like, Cinderella playoff run.
He has all the talent in the world, but I said earlier, I feel like he lacks the killer instinct that you get from, you mentioned Steph Curry, Jordan, Bird, you name
Kobe?
the person. Kobe.
His guy?
His guy. He doesn't, it's just like he's not saying, give me the basketball so I can win this game.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier. He didn't have a field goal attempt till 8 or 9 minutes into that first quarter.
Yeah, that first quarter was really disappointing. To his credit, when he got into the game, he looked very efficient. He started firing away. He was getting his jumpers off. He was actually finishing a layup, which is something that he seems to be struggling with that shoulder at times. But overall, this team looks rattled by the physicality of the Warriors, which is the most disappointing thing to me. Is like, you guys came in, the Warriors were supposed to be this like pretty boy shooting finesse team from the West Coast, and you guys were supposed to come in as like, the scrappy young team that's coming to get the baton passed to them and out muscle and out defense this team, and it really did. It looks the opposite at times, where they look
really like game 3. It was like their only physical game.
They look like they don't really want the contact, like they don't want the smoke. Like they don't want to finish at the rim. They get upset when they're getting bodied by Draymond, and Draymond's pulling his crazy football moves off ball. It's like, okay, this is the big boy finals. Get in there, you know.
Well, that's the one issue that Tatum has, is that him and Brown, they struggle when it comes to finishing at the rim. But a lot of that is the way this team is built. They live and die on the 3-point line. Isn't that more about, and see, I put it on the coach. I put a lot of this stuff on the coaches, because you got to make sure that your players understand that. Now, the issue that I have, Mego, is that I think Tatum is a superstar. I just think the way the team is built, as far as egos, I don't think the other guys know that this is Tatum's team and he's the alpha dog and he should be taking the shots.
Give us more of an ego from Tatum, though. That's what I want.
Well,
he's in his head too much. You bring up age. It's an age thing. He has everything to lose.
There's no reason why that he has 0 shots in the first 7 minutes of the game.
I'll tell you why. I think he was deferring a lot. And, it's just,
But that's on him, not... He puts that on Ime.
I think it is a little bit on Ime in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I've given Ime... I've tossed him all the flowers for the success that they've had up to this point, because halfway through the season, he made a concentrated effort to say, this is a defensive team. Like, the offense will come on its own. We got to stop doing the ISO on offense, but it's about defense with this team. And now you're seeing, okay, everyone says defense wins championships.
Okay.
But when you have that offensive team on the other side, it's the most disappointing thing to me about last night was Curry was giving you the game.
Yes.
Like, Curry was really bad through the second half. He was really bad. And I just kept watching, going like, okay, Curry's going to start. He's going to get on. He's going to start sinking these. And it kind of feels like it's a totally wasted opportunity from the Celtics. And granted, they were playing much better on-ball defense, but what Curry was doing, as good as he was the game before, he was that bad in the second half last night. And it's like, man, that you guys really had a window open there and you whiffed.
Yeah.
Do you think they look at, like with Golden State, I feel like everybody on that team looks at it and goes, this is Steph Curry's team.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel the same way about the Celtics and them, everybody looking at it and going, this is Tatum's team?
I think if you asked anybody, they would say Tatum is the number one player, that the looks should be for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's hard when we talk about comparing Steph Curry to Jason Tatum, and I sound like a huge apologist, but this is just how I approach this matchup. They're 10 years apart. And Curry has much more finals experience.
Yeah, no,
so
I
this is, I think we have to look at the bigger picture of this is very early in Tatum's career. That's not to say that they should win these finals. And to give away game 5 like that when Curry is playing that poorly, that's just awful.
If you could stop turning the ball over and make a foul shot,
Yes.
you win these games.
Well, the turnovers, this is where we said it was going to come back to burn them eventually. The turnovers have been an issue for them the entire playoffs. And last night with 18 turnovers, it's like they make it through every series with these games where they have these horrible turnovers and they're never forced to learn their lesson because they win in game 7. Sometimes they stretch it out. It should have been done in 6 with the Bucks without Chris Middleton. It should have been done in 5 or 6 against the Heat, and they stretched it out till 7 in both those series. But it's like, hey, we still get to move on to the other round. Granted, we're more tired. Our important guys are banged up, injured, but we still get to go to the finals.
So
well, now
they
you're
can
in
do
the
it again?
finals. Well, I think they can because they've shown that resilience, but they do make it really freaking hard on themselves.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe that you're going to win back-to-back games against Steph Curry. And that's Steph Curry alone.
Do you find it hard to believe that they would win back-to-back games against the reigning NBA champs?
Yeah, I did. I did, and they did it. So, yeah, so you still believe. I think you only believe because you have to get the ink.
My legs were crossed.
Curtis, you had a poll that was up in Twitch earlier this morning about Jason Tatum. I'm interested in Mego's feelings on that.
Has your opinion of Tatum changed this postseason? You had 3 options. No change, worse than I thought, better than I thought. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What are the outcomes right now?
Right now, 44% say worse than I thought, 51% no change, and 5% only say better.
I feel like a hater. I'm like no change because I've actually thought that he hasn't had a great playoff run overall, and I feel like I've been saying it every series. But I'm comparing that to the last third of his regular season, which was awesome. The last third of his regular season, he was so consistent, that level that he was playing at night to night. We were sitting around talking about, like, man, if he had played the first half of the season like this, or this team had been in this mode, he would be an MVP candidate for the season. And it just looks like, I'm not going to say it's a regression. No, I am going to say it's a regression.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a regression during the
it's
playoffs.
It's like the stage is too big for him, and it can't be that way if you're a superstar.
And you don't know what you're getting out of him night after night. With Jaylen Brown, and I know that Wiggy hasn't been the biggest Jaylen Brown fan during this series because of the turnover issue, but at least we know what we're getting.
Yeah, Mego brings up his name perfectly. He is the flasher. He's the guy who flashes.
He does.
For a quarter, then he disappears for 2, and then he flashes again. I think Tatum... I think the problem with Tatum, Mego, and, I'll ask you about this, is, people say, well, he's got to try to figure it out. I think a lot of the issue, and this is why I put it on Ime, where Ime has to, sometimes you got to tell your superstar, like, listen, it's got to be on you. And I don't know if Ime necessarily does that where he kind of puts it as collectively as a team.
See, this drives me nuts. Why do you have to tell a superstar that it's on him? Why does he have to be?
Because he's 24.
Yeah, you have to do that with certain guys.
Yeah, I think this is like the growth. If you look back at all these, what we think of like beyond superstar, we're talking about like legendary players, top 10, top 15 players in history. I think all of them, if you look at Larry Bird, everybody's been doing these comparisons with LeBron, his first finals run and everything. This is the growth. Like, it's hard to get there and win the first time. I put it more on the team because I think this team is better constructed. This team has better pieces than the other team. And at this point, they're just...
You think the Celtics are a better basketball team?
Yes, absolutely.
Player to player, better
player
basketball.
to player, yes.
Yeah.
I think that, no doubt, the Warriors have the best player in the series. And Andrew Wiggins looked like the freaking best player last night
best
when
guy on
he
the court.
stepped up when Curry couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But it's like the Celtics are the better team right now. They're getting outsmarted. They're just getting outclassed in terms of the experience.
Well, because Wiggins is in that role, and they talked about it on the broadcast when Wiggins was with the
Wiggins is what you want Jaylen Brown to be.
Bingo, the third guy.
Yeah.
But the problem is you don't have a second guy, and at times the second guy wants to be Marcus Smart, and that creates issues, right? And I think Jaylen Brown, and I talked about this play last night, there was a clear 2-on-1 with Tatum trailing, and all Brown had to do was give him a little drop-off pass, and it would have been an easy dunk. Rather, he goes up against Klay Thompson. He gets fouled and goes to the free throw line, but that just goes to show you that Brown, he wants to be the guy. There's too many guys wanting to be the guy. Well, you know that whole saying, there's too many, what is it?
Cooks in the kitchen.
Bingo.
Was that LeVar Ball who said that?
Yeah, he also said stay in your
I
way.
was going to say something else, but then I knew you couldn't say that no more.
I know what you're talking about.
God.
I'm wondering what that was.
Don't
He's
worry
talking
about
about like how you
Last
get
guy
this.
invited to the you-know-what? What's that?
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Right. All right. So I know you have to get to the vet.
Yeah. Oh my God! Why did you say that out loud?
Sorry. Killington
She's so
doesn't know.
upset
You have to
now.
spell it, Greg.
You have to get to the doggy bakery.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's it.
That picked her up.
So what's your faith level at?
What's my faith level?
Yeah.
On a scale of like 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
I gotta say, I put it at like a 6.
All right.
Like I'm
Well, that's better.
slightly optimistic because we've seen them do it back to back before, and I do think this team is hyper resilient, and they are the better stacked team than the
Okay.
Warriors. It's just like
If they're going
it's
to
tou-
do
I
it,
think they got into the tequila on the business trip. You know,
yeah,
like
I
it's
know. I
just-
think that's a good analogy. If they're going to do it, though, is it more on Ime or is it more on Jason Tatum?
It's going to be more on Ime because
is.
he's going to. The thing we didn't talk about, their bench has sucked the last 2 nights.
Yeah.
And you can't have that in the finals. When you get this deep in the playoffs, everybody's banged up. You know, like Wiggy said, there's just always a little confusion over who is the hot hand, who should be taking command with a young team. When the bench, like, you can't get anything out of your bench, that's pretty tough to like supplement the
Grant
points.
Williams, where the hell is he?
I know he's disappeared since the Bucks series.
Since Game 7, that
Yeah.
was it. He got the big head. Now he's like everybody else. He wants the ball.
It's great when it comes to yelling at the refs, though.
Oh.
Really, nobody
Amazing.
complains better than he does. All right. Well, great to see you. Thank you for coming
Thanks.
in.
Thanks,
and we'll be
guys.
listening this afternoon.
Yes,
Full
2 to
breakdown.
6. We're gonna be going crazy. I know Lou has a lot to say. Text chain was blowing up last
Yeah.
night.
All right. Awesome.
If you ever need a dog sitter, please call
You're
me.
in. You're
Careful what you say there.
I mean,
I
I
tell
love
her.
this
Good
dog.
way to get ready for for
look
kids.
at the Twitch screen.
Yeah, look
at it.
Look at Courtney and Killington. Oh my God.
I try to tell him, Mego,
Oh,
She's married.
oh.
Mego, taking care of a dog is a lot harder than you think, especially.
Wiggy doesn't like dogs.
No,
Let's
no,
see, we
no,
get
no,
that out of the way.
no,
What was
Wiggy-
the first
Wiggy doesn't
thing?
like
Wiggy, you
dogs.
have to be a certain level of a just miserable human when the first thing you say when you see that absolutely gorgeous dog is, "Don't crap in the studio."
Yeah, you can't take
She
a dump in the
wouldn't.
studio.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. All right, Mego, thank you.